Hello and welcome to Growatt Product Introduction. Today I will be introducing you to our SPF 3500 to 5000 ES series off-grid inverters and the AXE lithium battery off-grid storage products and solutions. These are some of the topics that I'll be covering during the course of this presentation. Firstly, I'll look at product overview. I'll also move on to look at the yield of these off-grid inverters. I'll also move on to flexibility and scalability of these storage systems. And I'll move on to the smart and reliability of these storage systems. I'll also have a look at the AXE lithium battery and also the application scenarios. To begin with, I'll be focusing on product overview. Here is an off-grid system overview, which consists of, on the DC side, we have the PV input, which is PV modules, and we have the DC input from the batteries. On the AC side, inputs, we have the utility, the generator is an option, and we have the load, of course, and our off-grid inverter in the middle. So that picture is showing you how the SPF 5000 ES inverter looks like. And please take note that this off-grid inverter has got a built-in charge controller, which is an MPP type. Some of the key features of the SPF 3500 to 5000 ES series inverters. These inverters are compatible with lithium batteries. They've got a wide PV input voltage range which goes up to 450 volts DC. They support generator input, and they also have the equalization charging function for lead acid batteries. This helps to prolong the lifespan of the lead acid batteries. And it has got the LCD display, and it supports remote monitoring with the help or the use of the Wi-Fi or the GPRSF, which is mostly usually for remote monitoring or smart control, and it can work with or without a battery, which is one of its kind on the market as compared to other off-grid inverters. Here are some of the key features of the AXE low voltage lithium battery. Each module has a capacity of 5.0 kilowatt hours, and you can scale this up in a cluster which goes up to 50 kilowatt hours, meaning to say that you can put 10 of them in a single cluster, and you can have a maximum of 8 clusters which goes up to 400 kilowatt hours battery capacity. And these type of battery is very safe and reliable. Why? Because it is made out of the lithium iron phosphate batteries, and it has got internal plug connection, hence no need for extra cabling as compared to other battery types. What does that mean? This will save the costs and also the installation time. Moving on to the yield. These inverters generally have got a higher yield as compared to other inverters. As you can look on the power factor, it has got a power factor of 1, meaning to say that a 5 kVA inverter has got an equivalent kilowatt hour, which is the usable power, goes up to 5 kilowatt because of the power factor of 1. If you compare with other off-grid inverters on the market, you'll find that they've got a power factor of around 0.8, meaning to say that if you've got a 5 kilo or 5 kVA inverter, you won't get 5 kilowatt from that inverter. Then one of the most important advantages is you can overload this inverter, which means that if you have 100% load, this inverter will still work normally or function normally. But if you overload this inverter to 125%, then the inverter stops working. a high DC and AC ratio which goes up to 1.5, one of the most important advantages. This is generally the measure of the efficiency of the inverter. That is the conversion of your DC to AC usable power from the inverter. So if you check with other inverters on the market, you realize that they've got a DC to AC ratio which is below 1.2. So the diagrams shown on this presentation, the left side of it, is showing the first generation. For the first generation, you will need a solar charge controller for you to be able to supply your load and at the same time charge the batteries, as compared to this latest generation or the latest version that we have, which is the SPF 5000 ES. It can take a maximum PV input power of 6000, that is for the 5000 ES, of course. And it has got a built-in MPPT charge controller, meaning to say that you can supply your load at the same time you still have allowance to charge your battery. These systems are very flexible, and also they can be scaled up depending on what you want to achieve to solve client's problem. If you can have a look here, we have the high PV input range. From the left side, we have the HVM model, which is the old version. This can take maximum PV input of 145 volts DC with the use of the combiner box. Therefore, you can't do away with the combiner box when you are using this old version. But with this new version, with its high PV input range of close to 450 volts DC, then there is no need for the combiner box, which adds to extra cost to your system. And this is very convenient in terms of the installation, and also it saves the wiring costs as well. Then this is how you can scale these solutions or these systems up. You can put them in parallel. These systems or these inverters, they take up to 6 units per system, meaning to say that you can go to a maximum of 30 kilowatt per system. They also support single phase and three phase. As you can see, the top part of the diagram, it shows the three phase system. Depending on the requirements of the client, you just change the configuration or the setup of the inverters. As you can see, the first two inverters represent phase 1, the second set of inverters represent phase 2, and the third set represent phase 3. Then the bottom part of this diagram is showing you the single phase system with your live and neutral and the earth, of course. So kindly note that when you are in parallel mode, these are the connections that you need to take note of, especially the communication connection with the green connection or the green cable representing the current carrying cable, and the red cables or the red lines representing the communication cables. And you configure or connect those cables according to the diagram shown on the left bottom part of that diagram. And in setting up your inverter in program 23, you need to tell the inverter or instruct the inverter that you are operating in parallel mode. Then you select PAL. But then this is single phase. Then you still need to select S1G. Then this is a three-phase parallel system. So for a three-phase parallel system, you can see from the diagram above, as you can see, the communication cables wiring as well. That is the green wire, as I said earlier on, it's the current carrying wire, and the red is the communication wires. You connect them accordingly as shown on the diagram. And in program 23, you select 3P1, that is your phase 1, and 3P2 for your phase 2, and 3P3 for your phase 3. That's your line 3. Then you need to tell the inverter that it is operating in three phase and it's a parallel connection. Then this is how you set up your inverter. With long press on your enter, then the inverter LCD display will highlight whatever that you need to change with program first. Then you use your up and down arrows to select program. In that program, you can select which setting do you want to select. As you can see, you can just simply follow the steps as shown. Then this inverter, as I mentioned, it can work with or without a battery. So this will save the initial installation cost to the client. So as you can see, that diagram represents a system that is with or without a battery, with that red X showing you that this system can work without a battery. So you have 1 to 4 configuration or setup that you can operate this system in. Like for example, if you look at option 1, you can have a connection direct to the solar panels without the battery and grid operation mode. Or option 2, directly connect your grid power without the battery and solar operation mode. As and more and go on option 3 and option 4. Then, in terms of BMS, which is the communication between the battery management system and the inverter, we have an inverter built-in BMS port, which include the RS485 and the CAN port. So, for other battery brands, you use the RS485, but with the AXE low voltage batteries, you use the CAN port, as you can see on the pictures. Then the setting operation, you need to tell your inverter that it is operating with either an AGM battery or it is operating with a lithium battery. This is program number 5. As I mentioned before, long press your enter button for at least 3 seconds. Then it will help you to select the program, which is program number 5. Then from program number 5, you move on to select what type of the battery is connected to this inverter using your up and arrow button. And these are some of the communication protocols with other different battery brands. For example, the Dennis, the Pylontech, and also including the Growatt. So you need to take note of these protocols so that your BMS is able to communicate with your inverter. Then these systems, they are very smart and reliable. As you can see, you can connect or monitor your system remotely using the ShinePhone app. But before we even go there, locally, you can see what's going on in your system on the LCD display, where you can get input information. For example, the PV voltage, the AC voltage, the frequency, the PV generation. Then you can also get output information, which includes the voltage, which is the output voltage, the load percentage, and then the frequency and the load in VA and the load in watts, and also the discharge current as well. So you can do local monitoring by using a USB cable connecting directly your PC to your inverter. Then the picture that you are seeing, that's how you see the information, with the information including input information and output information. Then smart management, which is remote monitoring. This inverter support the remote firmware upgrade, meaning to say that you can upgrade or update the firmware remotely without you having to go to site. And together with the use of the Shine Wi-Fi F and the GPRSF, the difference between the Shine Wi-Fi F and the GPRSF is the Wi-Fi F works with the Wi-Fi and the GPRSF works with a normal network connection from a local network service provider in areas where you don't have Wi-Fi connection. Then with the Shine Phone app, you will be able to connect your system. Then you can be able to monitor your system via Shine Server and the cloud system. Then the equalization function that I mentioned before, this is specifically to monitor the charging and discharge cycles of your lead acid batteries. This will help to prolong your lifespan of your lead acid batteries by making sure that the cycles are full when the battery is being charged and also fully discharging. Then we've got different working modes for these inverters. We have the SUB work mode, which proves to be very efficient, especially in the South African market. So if solar energy is not sufficient to power all connected loads, then solar and utility will power the loads at the same time. So this work mode helps in terms of saving electricity as well as energy security. The AXE lithium battery, as I mentioned before, each module has a capacity of 5.0 kilowatt hours, and you can have a cluster of up to 10 of these modules, which goes up to 50 kilowatt hour battery capacity. And this is how you connect the batteries together. Direct connection between each module. You simply put one module on top of each other. There is direct connection. You have your positive and negative from the last or the module that is on top of all the modules. Then those two cables, your positive and your negative, goes to your inverter, of course, together with your communication cable for your BMS. Then if you want to have clusters that are more than 2, 3, 4, going all the way up to 8, then together with the use of a DC combiner box, you have only 2 cables out of your combiner boxes, which is the power cables, your positive and negative, and of course your earth going to your inverter, and your comms cable as well from one of the cluster all the way direct to the inverter. Then these are some of the parameters for these batteries, with a nominal voltage range of 48 to 57.6, but the nominal voltage being 51.2 volts, and the discharging charging current of 60 amps, and the IP rating is IP20, and it has got an operating temperature range from 0 degrees to 50 degrees, and a weight of 45 kilograms. Then application scenarios. We have different application scenarios or different working modes, depending on what you want to achieve or what the client wants to achieve. For example, we've got the SOL, which is solar first. As you can see, then solar power, if solar power is sufficient, then you supply your load using your solar. Then at the same time, if there is extra power, then you charge your batteries. We've got different working modes. For example, we have also the UTI, which is the utility first. We also have different scenarios in terms of the application or what you want to achieve. For example, if the client wants to save electricity, then when solar power is sufficient, supply power to the load and charge the batteries as well for cost-effective support. And utility feeds power only if the battery feeding is under low level warning value. In that way, you are saving your electricity bill. Then we have the backup power mode. In this mode, the solar power, if the solar power is sufficient, you supply power to the load and also charge the battery. When the solar power is not sufficient, then utility supply power to the load and charge the batteries to make sure that you always have power backup in case of a fault or a grid outage. We also have the off-peak charging. The off-peak charging now, you can have, or you can set your inverter, the time of the grid power support and battery charging or discharging can be set during off-peak or peak time. Then these are some of the references. The first one being in South Africa, a 10 kilowatt system. Then the second one is a system in Tech, which is a 10 kilowatt. Then the third one is a system in Brazil, which is a 5 kilowatt system. And a 10 kilowatt system again in South Africa, 15 kilowatt in South Africa, and a 5 kilowatt in South Africa. We can go on and on. Thank you.